It is an absolute honor and privilege to welcome each and every one of you to the Northeast India Youth Leaders Conclave. The Northeast India Youth Leaders Conclave is organized by NFI in collaboration with the Directorate of Youth Resources and Sports, Government of Nagaland. This conclave is co-funded by the European Union and NEMAN as the knowledge and technical partner. Dear delegates, congratulations on making it to this conclave. It was a very rigorous process. They had to work on a very lengthy application document, followed by interviews for the shortlisted candidates. Each one of you represents excellence from your state. We have 100 young leaders from all the states of the Northeast, including Sikkim, our brother. We have young entrepreneurs, young bureaucrats, aspiring bureaucrats, political activists, climate change activists, budding entrepreneurs, development workers, and research scholars amongst us here today. And we hope that you will take the opportunity to interact with each other, connect, and we hope you will forge friendships that will last a lifetime. We hope that you will forge partnerships that will make a difference in our community. NEMAN is extremely delighted to support the initiative of National Foundation for India. We are a youth-focused organization where we work on actualizing the SDG goals, but most importantly, we focus on youth peace and security, and we hope that over the next decade, we will continue to emphasize on promoting youth and how young people can be engaged in peace and security issues. With this in mind, the theme was very specially curated by the organizers. How we can empower young leaders, how we can bridge SDG goals and ensure there is social inclusive development in the Northeast. The themes that we have curated for this event are on the themes of mountains, society, and economy. We want young leaders to understand how we can harness the biodiversity of the region. On society, how we can understand the unique geopolitical landscape of the region. And thirdly, understand about the economic opportunities in the region, how innovation can drive growth and development, and most importantly, address issues around poverty, inequality, so that there can be inclusive development in the region. Dear delegates, the conclave was prepared with the belief that young leaders have the potential to make a difference in our communities. We believe that the future of the Northeast rests on ethical and principled leaders. We require value-driven leaders for the region to progress. So over the next few days, we hope that you will learn more about the unique challenges of the state, of the region. We hope that you will take the opportunity to interact with the speakers, with your fellow delegates, with the organizers, to learn more about the themes, but most importantly, at the end, we expect a complete commitment, a commitment that we will work together, that we will work collaboratively with the district, with the state, with the government, with the state, with the civil society organizations. Because for the Northeast to progress, for us to move ahead, we require this collaborative effort.
To me, the Northeast, and particularly states like Nagaland, states like Manipur or Arunachal or Sikkim, they exemplify the diversity that we have in this country. From these 8 states, we have 60 communities who for most part have lived at peace with each other. We have hundreds of languages. In Nagaland itself, there are villages where from village to village you have a change in language. We have hundreds of cuisines. We have hundreds of cultural activities which are unique to each community. And yet all of them blend together in some way towards a common purpose of statehood, a common vision for the future. And whenever these whenever this diversity is challenged, we have seen the devastating consequences of conflict. We have seen it in Manipur, we have seen it in Nagaland, we have seen it in other states, we have seen it in Assam. We have seen how conflict leads not just to a loss of life, not just to a disruption in the ways of living and working, not just large-scale bloodshed, but years of being pushed back into a development black hole. Conflict is something that each state which has witnessed this conflict sets you back by decades. And I must mention the recent, very, very unfortunate incident, the conflict in Manipur that has flared up and refuses to go away after years of peace, after decades of effort, fueled by majoritarianism, fueled by a desire to dominate one community over the other, fueled by inability to see each other's points of view, and largely reflective of certain negative tendencies that we see in the country, not just in this part, but many parts of India today. And I think that is a principal challenge before our societies. How do we build a just state by just means, which is inclusive, where peace is not just the absence of conflict, but where peace is a positive peace, a peace that is guided by development, a peace that arrives out of the framework that we have for the SDGs. I think the SDGs provide us a framework, not just the SDG on peace and justice, but the SDGs provide us an overall framework for development, which young people like you now have the responsibility to carry forward. We have left a legacy, and when I say we, I mean our generation. We have left a very difficult and uncomfortable legacy for you. You, the young people today, are left with a world which has a poly crisis, multiple crises. You have the climate crisis on one hand. You have the crisis which is economic, because the economic models that the generations before you have crafted just don't work. It is non-inclusive, it doesn't work for the poor. You are inheriting a world from us which is very divided. The world today, if you look at it, and again, not just India, but across the world, it is very divided along political lines, around ethnic lines. Look at what is happening in Gaza today. The loss of life, the massacres, the continuous bombardment by Israel in Gaza, the violence by Hamas which preceded that. Look at what's happening in large parts of Europe. We are leaving you with a world that is led by populist authoritarianism. You have governments which are elected, but which are fundamentally authoritarian in character. And we are no alien to that kind of governance. We are leaving a world to you where you're not even sure whether the next generation that will come will be underwater or over water. What parts of it will be above water? If we cross 1.5 degrees, the consequences will be devastating. The climate migration that will ensue from large parts of the world, and the Northeast is particularly vulnerable, because you are bordering countries, 99% of your borders are international borders, you are bordering countries which are very, very vulnerable to the climate change and submergence under climate change, which means large-scale refugees from across. So we are leaving this world with a very, very troubled legacy because our generations have failed you. And I say this with great responsibility because it is a failure that we must acknowledge. And we must therefore also humbly request you to take on the challenges that have been set, that you are confronted with, and to confront them better than my generation has been able to do. On the economic front, on the political front, on the climate front, literally you have to fix the world. We are giving you a broken world that you need to fix. And I hope that you will fix it in a way that is much more inclusive, much less divisive, much more respectful of diversity, striving towards the positive peace that has been absent from our lives. And in the totality, underlying or embodying the vision that, when André Malraux, the visiting culture minister of France, when he came to India immediately after independence, he had asked Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru what his vision for India was. And I always remember and quote this because Pandit Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, in just 3 lines, 4 words, he outlined what his vision for India was. And he said, a just state by just means. A just state by just means. And that is what we have failed to deliver for India and for the world, which is what you are confronted with. And I'm glad that we are having this conversation, not just amongst ourselves from a perspective of development, but from frameworks which have been successful in other areas, combining them with entrepreneurships and startups that we have in the region, in the overall perspective of peace and development. How do we build a world that is more compassionate, kinder to each other, more respectful of every community, does not see one community in confrontation, conflict, or competition with other, but part of this beautiful planet which is broken that we have to fix collectively.
Well, the northeast of India, as you all know, covering the 7 sisters and 1 brother, it covers about 7.98% of the geographical area of the country. We have about 3.78% of the population of the country. And interestingly, we have a state which has just about 17% population density to about 398 population density in Assam. We are perhaps a very diverse area, diverse group of people in a compact area. That perhaps I believe is one of our strengths. The Northeast region, as stated by Mr. Biraj, we share a long boundary with a number of countries. And the boundary that we share with the mainland is just a small one, the Chicken Neck area. Our Northeast, I think it's one of the less developed regions compared to other parts of the country, though we have immense potential for development. What ails the Northeast? If we think about that, I think there are many things we can come up with. But the problems of political violence, insurgency, ethnic conflict, migration pressure, interstate disputes, and underdevelopment have become integral to the understanding of the political process and economic development of the Northeast region today. The economic factors, if you look at it closely, appears to be the more potent reason for the continued political unrest and uncertainty in the entire region. Irrespective of the stance and the vocabulary or the language that we use, economic causes emerge as a common theme in all the analysis of various problems in India's Northeast. Perhaps the most cursory look at this region would point to the fact that the region lags behind the rest of the country, particularly those parts of the country with comparable resource endowments. The economic development of the northeastern region is characterized by trends prevailing in the country as a whole, as well as certain features that are unique to our area. To a large extent, from colonial times, the country as well as our region has been an exporter of raw materials. And even today, perhaps that is not very far from the truth. This is evident in the way transportation and communication linkages developed in the region are still concentrated in the upper Brahmaputra Valley. The sprawling rural hinterlands continued with traditional agriculture, while revenue from the tea and oil sustain the urban centers. There's a large disparity in the various sectors of the economy and various sub-regions. The economic activities are concentrated in select pockets, even in our region. There are vast areas that remain still inaccessible and backward, even though there's a lot of developmental activities taking place. Recently, my department, under the government's innovative program, visited one area called the Shiloi Lake. I don't know whether people from outside the state knows, but Shiloi Lake is a very beautiful place on the Indo-Burma border. And this particular area, once you reach, you would not feel like coming back. But to reach from Kohima alone, it takes about 10 hours. Such inaccessibility is actually stopping its potential from becoming a tourist hotspot in itself. Though until recently now, the government has started developing a two-lane road to these areas. And if you go to these areas, you will find today that it has immense potential for economic development and even inclusive development. I believe that the lack of inclusive growth in our region is the reason for this vicious cycle of non-development, this vicious cycle of political unrest, this vicious cycle of non-economic activity that is happening in our region. Coming to that, inclusive growth, as you all know, as defined by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, represents an equitable distribution of economic progress throughout the society, ensuring that opportunities for advancement are accessible to all stakeholders. This concept holds immense global importance as it encompasses the fair sharing of economic benefits and opportunities across various sectors, fostering a resilient and broad-based growth pattern. We know what is a communist society. We know what's a capitalist society. But today, I think these two are less relevant. The more relevant is to come out with a collaborative society, which will ensure inclusive growth. The significance of this inclusive growth is underscored by the detrimental consequences of prolonged and pronounced inequality. In such scenarios, individuals with limited resources may struggle to invest in their own human capital or participate in economically productive activities. High levels of unemployment in the region contribute to substantial economic costs, leading to skill atrophy, reduced employability, diminished savings for investment, and a decreased overall potential output. Divergent interests among various social groups and the political process used to reconcile them can hinder growth, can lead to unproductive government spending, benefiting only a select few, and incite discord and social unrest. And I think that is what we see today in our society. Both inequality and unemployment can erode individuals' capacity to manage economic risk. As young entrepreneurs, I'm sure it is economic risk that you are taking, but you are taking a calculated risk. But unless you have that capacity to take the risk, you cannot become entrepreneurs. You cannot become successful entrepreneurs. Role of young leaders in our society today. As young leaders, you play a pivotal role in fostering inclusive development. You contribute to the growth and prosperity of the societies, not only in this region, but even worldwide. In an era which is marked by rapid societal changes and evolving global challenges, the innovative thinking, and the commitment of young leaders are essential for creating inclusive development that benefits all members of the community. As young leaders, you play a multifaceted role in achieving inclusive development by examining your contributions, challenges that you face, and the potential for a lasting impact. As young leaders, you bring fresh perspectives and innovative ideas to the table. Young leaders are often unburdened by traditional thinking and are more open to exploring unconventional solutions to complex problems. This creativity is crucial in addressing pressing issues such as poverty, inequality, and climate change. The young leaders are more attuned to the needs and aspirations of your generations, allowing them to create policies and initiatives that resonate with the youth, who constitute a significant portion of our society. Moreover, young leaders serve as inspiring role models for peers and even the younger generations. I believe the passion, the determination, and achievements demonstrated by young leaders is what will bring positive impact in our region. By actively engaging in community development projects and advocating for social justice and taking leadership roles, young leaders can motivate others to become proactive in their own communities. And this ripple effect can lead to a groundswell of youth participation in inclusive developmental efforts.
I hope this conclave will be fruitful, meaningful, and it will be an action-oriented gathering for the benefit of the region. Your themes, the topics that you have chosen for this conclave, they are vital, they are crucial for the overall growth and development of the region. I cannot agree more when you say that the northeastern region is blessed with an incredible natural beauty, a rich biodiversity, a rich cultural heritage. Yes, this region, our region, is adorned with mountains, beautiful mountains, treasure trove of rich mountains, and varied biodiversity. And for generations, we are enjoying the benefits out of this rich ecosystem. However, we all know this delicate ecosystem is now facing threats because of our human action. Our action like deforestation, hunting, pollution, climate change, and many more. We know the potentials of our rich ecosystem. We also know the challenges that lies ahead of us. And therefore, in a gathering like this, in a conclave like this, you must discuss, you must debate on such issues and come out with certain measures in order to sustainably protect and preserve the region's rich biodiversity for now and for posterity. And at the same time, we should also develop eco-friendly infrastructures, community-based tourism that will unlock the vast potentials of the region and develop or create a potential region with ecotourism. We all know and I'm sure you will all agree with me, we are not only blessed with rich biodiversity, but the northeastern region is also blessed with multi-ethnic, multicultural diversity as well. I always say this, I've traveled length and breadth of the entire northeastern states when I was a student leader. And I've always challenged our fellow friends that the diversity of the region, we should always use to our advantage. This diversity should not come to divide us further, to disintegrate us further. We have to make use of this diversity. Young leaders like all of you present here, I want to challenge you. I want to tell you, let us try to understand the intricacy of the socio-political dynamics of our region. At all times, we must try to promote ethnic tolerance, cultural acceptance, understanding of each other's way of life, peaceful coexistence. We must try to promote this at all times. Otherwise, just a small spark, our region, anytime, anything can happen. We know what is happening in certain states of the region. And therefore, we all must be aware of this factor, this socio-political complexities. We must all be aware of these factors all the time. I cannot speak about other states, but when it comes to Nagaland, our state, the government employee, the government job, we have reached a saturation point. And at the moment, we are trying to scale down the government job appointments and focus more on the innovation, skill development, technology, and entrepreneurship. We know what happened during the pandemic, post-pandemic also. Everything came to a standstill. The factories were closed down, industries were shut down, precious lives lost. We know what happened during the pandemic. But there is a positive aspect to me of that pandemic. What is that? It is the realization that this epidemic gave us, the realization that we must go back to our land. We must work hard, use the traditional methods of cultivation, farming, or even introduce new technologies, be self-sufficient, and have food security. That was the realization given by, extracted out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And that is also the slogan of the government of Nagaland. And in line with that, as mentioned by the Director, Human Resources and Sports, the Honorable Chief Minister, Shirley Purio, who is a visionary leader, he has introduced a scheme called the Chief Minister's Microfinancing Scheme. And also that innovation, the liberty that he has given to the departments to come up with the innovative works for the youth. And those are well accepted. Hundreds and thousands of interested individuals, entrepreneurs, women groups, self-help groups, they have applied for these schemes. And after availing this, if they utilize it properly, I'm sure everybody will be benefited. We have other schemes from the central ministries. Hopeful with the Chief Minister's microfinancing schemes, the innovation schemes, if all these schemes are availed and utilized to our advantage, then I don't find any reason why Nagaland, or for that matter, the northeastern state regions, we cannot bring about an economic revolution, economic transformation into our states or in the region. We have potentials. Northeastern states, we have potentials. The only thing we need to do is tap the untapped resources, tap the untapped potentials of the people and of the region. And I'm sure today your conclave is all about that. You are gathered here to tap the talents from the northeastern region. And we are looking forward that your conclave will be an action-oriented, result-oriented conclave. Nagaland, in 2021, we have also released a vision document called the Nagaland SDG, Vision 2030. This vision document is framed with the background of the 17th Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations in 2015. We know it's a challenge, it is a big challenge. It is kind of an ambitious target that we have set for ourselves, but we are hopeful with the participation of the stakeholders, like the grassroots leaders, the civil society leaders, the NGOs, and the government measures together. Putting our heads together, we are hopeful that we will achieve these targets we have set for ourselves for inclusive and sustainable development of Nagaland. So with these few words, I once again thank the NFI for organizing this conclave in Kohima, Nagaland. I wish this conclave the very best, and as I said earlier, we are looking forward to this conclave to be an action-oriented conclave. Thank you and God bless.
The very challenging words of encouragement and reality check for young leaders through the voice of once a youth leader and now a social and political leader. It was indeed a privilege to hear you, sir, and enlighten us about the visions and directions of where the government sectors are also heading in the field of skills development and innovation. For now, the closing remarks will be taken up by the NFI, so I request the representative from NFI to take the stage.
First of all, I think we should applaud ourselves that making it up to here till today and being here together for this conclave. So we should all deserve a big round of applause.